For trouble-free operation, these systems must be regularly maintained. A maintenance plan should be drawn up and adhered to. This maintenance plan must include seasonal maintenance and ongoing checks to avoid costly system failure. Manufacturers provide a maintenance schedule for the operation of their systems. You should follow this for trouble-free operation. Some suppliers also provide an annual maintenance service. Check if this service is available from your supplier.
Most centre pivot and lateral move irrigation companies provide in their owner-operator handbook a recommended maintenance schedule. We recommend that they stick to that maintenance schedule, which tends to be seasonal and can be fairly simple to do. We have customers who will do it themselves and customers who call us.
There's sort of two modes of operation. There's some people that have a fix when fail attitude. And, I think, that's an interesting way of managing. And there's other people who do yearly maintenance. The fix when fail, you can bet it is when you're under the pressure or you've got a crop in there and you really need the water and it's not really sensible. I mean, we work on and we actually do a yearly maintenance program and offer it to all our clients. We actually run around and you can change the oils. We do an inspection of them to see whether they're worn. And actually come back with a written report for the clients. And a lot of people find that very easy because you can wheel in there with a service truck and you can pick the span up and you can do the two and be gone in a short time. Prevention is better than cure with these machines, absolutely. But I mean, these ones we've got gearboxes out that have probably done 15,000 hours, so they're not a rapidly failing part. But if you do no maintenance, they will fail.
The growers themselves need to be looking at getting the dealer back in for a health check at least once a year. If they don't know the machines themselves, they should be getting up there with a bit of spray, cleaning the product down, because you've got spider webs and all that sort of stuff. You've got boxes that might be split, not covering your electrical side. So if you're doing it once over the machine and you're realigning it and everything, at the end of that year, you'll find that your machine will last longer. And it all comes back to education and training, and if you educate somebody to do something the correct way. And I've had growers that maintain their machines immaculately, and they haven't had any issues with them for 10, 15 years. But then you get the guy that doesn't maintain his wheel tracks and doesn't look after the machine, and next thing you know, he's breaking gearboxes at 2 years. And you say, well, what are you doing different from the other guy?
During pre-season maintenance, check the integrity of electrical and hydraulic components.
We do a regular service of the machine. We have a little diesel motor in the centre of it which drives the hydraulic pump system. So that and the pumps, they get their normal regular service.
Check the drivetrain assemblies.
The main wheel gearboxes are what we call 52-to-1 ratio. If you've ever seen a capstan winch, what they've got is a big worm on a bull gear. So there's a big bull gear in there. And I think the problem is with a lot of farmers, they get into the habit of maybe thinking that it's just any oil, but it is actually a really special oil in there. They take an extreme pressure. If you can imagine the torque that would be in something if you're squeezing metal against metal, you need a lubricant that's going to hold up. And what we do is we use a gear type lubricant with extreme pressure additives in it. And it's really important that you get that right, because if you get it wrong for one season, like somebody goes and grabs the general purpose oil, you're going to end up ruining a gearbox for just $15 worth of oil. So you really got to think about what you're doing on that servicing side. They also have a diaphragm in the top of them. And what the diaphragm does is that takes up expansion and contraction in heat and cold. And with that expansion and contraction, if that diaphragm's ruined, it's only a small part. It's a small part to replace. You need to check that diaphragm. One, because if it's not working properly, it'll actually push out oil and also push out your seals. But the other thing is, it will allow moisture to get into your gearbox and it'll suck in water. So the things that will damage this is water, rust, contaminants in your oil. If you can keep that away from it, you'll keep a good life in these gearboxes. So the drivetrain is very important when it comes to these machines.
Look, the gearboxes are all tested, for thousands of hours. They're all stop-started. There's got all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you can get moisture in them, the same as you can in a diff, in a truck or a tractor, right? So you do need to take off any excess moisture in there, especially if you're going to leave the machine sit for any length of time. All makes will tend to get it.
Check for system leaks. System leaks result in non-uniform application and excess water around towers, potentially leading to wheel rutting problems. Flush the system to remove any debris that has accumulated in the machine. Confirm the sprinkler pack is correct by matching it to specification details. Check that the sprinklers are all operating correctly. Replace worn and faulty regulators and sprinklers. Check for bird damage to sprinklers and drops. Check that machine speed is calibrated correctly to speed settings in the control box. This is done by measuring out a marked distance and timing the travel time at the desired speed. Check pressures and flow rates. Channel maintenance is an important task for lateral systems pre-season.
Yeah, the maintenance of the channel is probably the biggest cost you have with a lateral move. In keeping the weeds off it, we use a combination of residual and non-residual herbicide to keep it clean. This particular channel's got a fair bit of fall in it, so we're talking about a 2 metre fall from one end to the other. So we have had some issues with bank slumping and that sort of thing, so we have changed it a little bit with the excavator and fixed that up, and we tend to keep water in the channel as a means of managing that bank slump. But other than that, it's it's no more work than a flood irrigation channel.
If we do 1 or 2 bearings a year, it's pretty surprising, and most of those bearings will never be done during a crop. You've got to remember it's a lot easier to service them when they're parked in their slot position beside the road than it is to try and bash your way into a corn crop and try and fix them up in there. So preventive maintenance is far cheaper and better than trying to do fire brigade maintenance.
And it doesn't matter what brand it is, and it's exactly the same as your car, for example. You buy a car brand new, you'll be able to drive in it for 2 years, you won't have a problem without doing any service. But at the end of that 2 years, little things are going to start going wrong, and you'll be amazed at how quickly those will snowball. And it's because of things that could have been caught earlier, could have been resolved earlier, now become very big problems. And we tend to see it a lot with farmers because they are very, very busy people, and all these machines brand new will run trouble-free for a number of years. You won't have any problems with them at all. So it's very easy to go, she's right, I'll leave her to keep going. They really need to go, okay, the crop's off, the next thing I do is I service my machine. And if they do that, they'll get a lot of years of trouble-free hassle out of it.
During the season, you should inspect pump operation, empty the sand trap, flush the system after fertigation, check for leaks, clear sprinkler blockages, check operating pressures, maintain tyres at a correct operating pressure.
Tyre pressures is a critical thing. You may not think it's such an important tool, but you need to keep the prescribed pressures in these, and that's 18 psi. And the reason why we say keep 18 psi because it gives you good flotation. So if you've got good flotation of the tyre, it means you're not going to get deep wheel running. So if you're putting 35 psi in your tyres, just because you don't want them to get gouged or spiked or anything, you're going to find that you're going to get deeper wheel tracks due to dragging and digging its own hole for itself. You should be doing monthly checks on your tyres because the first tyre you have to change in the paddock will be the last one you want to change.